Hello, good evening, everyone. Well, today we're going to try something new. And we're going to do a handcam stream. Do note this is going to be scuffed as fuck because my handcam is old, insanely old, and I haven't got a new one since. This is from like what, 2000s, early 2000s, 01, 02, something like that. Anyways, just a little bit about me and Gunpla. I do build a lot of it, actually. It's one of my favorite hobbies. So I can get a little bit excited when it comes to building plastic model kits. But yeah, let's head on over. So as you can see, first of all, the camera's scuffed as fuck, but also here we have the top half of the box for the master grade Barbatos. And this is the kit that I'm going to be building for you guys today. As you can see, master grade up here. 1 to 100th scale from the Iron-Blooded Orphan series. Let's throw that aside. In the box, we get your standard manual, bunch of runners. You have stickers. Yeah, so these are transparent stickers here. And let's see if we get dry transfer decals. This is metallic coated parts for some of the inner frames. These are mostly inner frame pieces. We've got clear effect parts, or well, clear parts for the shoulder pads, the head, and the knees. Some gold-plated parts, once again, for more of that metallic gold finish. I'm going to be painting over these because they're not that good looking. Weapons, more outer armor, and more runners for the inner frame, and more runners again for the inner frame. Okay, so with all this plastic, where do we even begin? Well, usually for a plastic model kit, Bandai's especially, inside, you can kind of see the various components of it. And this is one of the more newer kits, as IBO is a newer series. So we're very fortunate to have undergating. Now, undergating means that when the gate meets the actual part, it's actually underneath the part, and so you can't really see the nub marks, and that'll come into play later for any of you who are not familiar with building a kit. And also another really good thing about the new Bandai kits is that they have English on their manuals. That said, it's not like you can't do it without, right? With a Japanese manual, you still can do it. You just follow the instructions. And you'll notice that each of these runners have labels, right? A1. And basically you just follow this, you match it with the runner themselves. As for tools, now, generally you don't need any tools to start building plastic model kits. It's actually very, very beginner friendly. But let's just crack all of these open first. Now, what I do recommend though is that you do have at least a pair of side cutters, especially for a master grade kit. Alright, now these just help you remove the pieces from the gate. Okay, as you can see here. What you do is you just cut the pieces of plastic out instead of using your fingers to take them out. Right? Now, this is your standard run-of-the-mill side cutter. Right? And these work perfectly fine. However, I use these God Hands, which are a bladed side cutter. and these help me cut a lot more flush to the piece. What does it mean to cut more flush? Well, it just means that there's less work required. I don't need to put as much work afterwards to file. Now back to general tools that you would need to build a plastic model kit. Well, side cutters, strongly recommended, not necessary. A little bit more necessary would be a file. All right. Now you have the files on your nail clippers. These work too. All right. You can use sandpaper, but I personally like to have a file on hand. I also have a variety of sanding sticks. As you can see, these are kind of used from my previous kits, but these are sanding sticks of various grit. And grit is basically how coarse or how fine the sanding paper is. Sanding sponge, we call these. All right, so I have a bunch of these. And these ones actually go. I have some of them that are like 1000 grit. And the higher you go, the more smooth it is. And basically the technique is to work from low grit to high grit. So here I have 4000, 6000, 8000, 10,000. 10,000 it starts to feel very, very smooth. It's like butter almost. Call it butter paper. And then here I just cut out bits and pieces of a 6000 and 8000 grit sanding sheet. Very smooth. That's pretty much all you need to get started, honestly. I'm going to be using a little bit more than what you need. I'll be using side cutters, files, alright. I'll be using an X-Acto knife. I will have panel liner. So we have a gray panel liner here, brown panel liner, and a black panel liner. I'll probably be using these markers too as needed. Probably not the silver, gold one instead. This is going to be my paint replacement for those gold parts. Just give it a gold finish. And then maybe I'll just hand brush the silver parts. We'll see. Should be fine though. And then if I'm using panel liner, I have a panel liner remover. Now, if you don't want to use panel liner remover, what you can do is use rubbing alcohol instead, and that works just as well. So, that's just a brief overview on all the tools that I'll be using. Yeah, from there, let's get cracking, shall we? So first thing I like to do is just take all the parts out of their plastic. Just makes it easier to work with and less noisy. And then as you can see here, if you look at each runner, you can see how they're labeled. So this one here, oops, is runner A1. Now, the thing about master grades, and you'll see that Bandai likes to do a lot of grading on their kits. Master grade is their 1 to 100 flagship scale, right? Their grade. They have obviously other 1 to 100 kits like full mechanics, but the flagship one is master grade. Then for more entry level, there is literally a entry grade, which is limited articulation. Articulation being the movement of the joints, limited color separation, and limited detail. Now, are entry grades necessarily a bad kit? No, I don't think so. The grade doesn't make too much of a let's see, it doesn't mean too much, and the way I like to look at the grading, right, is it kind of tells you, one, the size that you can expect, and two is how much work you need to put in for it to be, let's say, 90 to 95% close to the real thing, right? For entry grades, you'll see that the color separation is not that good, and so you'll need a lot of painting and additional work to make it look a lot better. For high grades, which is the next one up, and I would say generally you don't need the entry grades. You can start with high grades, and that will be very sufficient. And just start with high grades, and you'll find that high grades, especially the newer ones, are actually very, very good quality kits. I think many people will be very happy with the results that they get from a high grade kit. Those are 1 to 1/44 scale, and definitely have a little bit better articulations. Once again, more for the modern kits. Here we have foil stickers for the eyes and the forehead, and they have a lot more. So high grades have a lot more foil stickers. The thing with foil stickers is that they mark easily, they scratch, right? So you can kind of already see the scratch there. If I shadow light on it, yeah, you can kind of see a scratch mark right about there. But this one only has 2 foil stickers, so that's very good. It means that it relies mostly on the color separation that is built into the runners. Okay, now that all of the runners have been pulled out of the plastic bag, I can start organizing my frames. And so, let's just put these all into the box for now. And I can show you a basic building workflow. So, here, first step, and there's no right or wrong way to start building this, but personally, I like to start with whatever they start with in the manual. I tend to not want to jump around. I know some people like to start from the head, some people like to start from the feet, some people like to build all the weapons first. Personally, I just like to build according to the manual. And so that's what we're gonna do. I don't plan on doing any modifications to this kit. I'm looking at probably a full-on straight build. Okay. And maybe do some weathering, dry brushing, right, to get that nice steampunk rusty effect. Okay. So here you can see the parts that you will need for this section of the kit. And so I'm just going to go and grab all of these runners. So we will need the A1. A1, the B runner, C1 and C2. So both C runners. C1 and C2. D1. D1 is silver plated. Oh, so already we're doing the silver runners. Interesting. D1 and D2, silver and gold both. The E runner, which is the multi. We're going to be using the clear runner. This one's the H runner, which is the clear parts. And the blue runner, I1. Okay. All right, so knowing that we're going to be working with the gold-plated pieces, I'm going to go grab a few tools real quickly, and you'll see what they're good for in a bit. All right, so what you have here are alligator clips, and I just slapped them onto some skewers. And these are for holding onto parts for when I'm painting so that my hands don't get in the way and don't rub any of the paint off. Okay, so I'm just going to grab these and move these off to the side, and the reason I'm going to hold on to these for now is because for these gold-plated pieces, if you can see here, there's some markings on them that aren't exactly the best looking. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Oops. They're not the best looking gold. It's kind of got a flat finish to it. It's not as shiny as I'd like. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to apply this Gundam marker onto the piece, and hopefully that'll make it look a lot better. Okay. But once again, that's going to be after I've extracted the piece and sanded it down so that it doesn't have any nub marks sticking out. Okay, so for the chest frame unit, let's start with A1. And so on the once you find the part that you need to take out, then you want to cut it open. Now, of course, there's you can just use your fingers and pull it out, but because I have side cutters, I'm going to use these instead. A119 and A117. A119 here, this piece, and A117, the piece above it. Now, when you're cutting a piece out of the runner, with a good side cutter, you can cut it flush against the piece. But if you don't have a good side cutter, what you can do is you cut a little further away. Let's see, a little further away from the piece. Cut that. And when it's connected on 3 points, right, you want to cut the middle point first. So this third one that's sticking out, before you cut the ones that are on opposite ends of each other. And this, what it does is it reduces stress marks. Stress marks are little white specks that you'll see on the part if you cut it too closely. And that's because you're squishing the plastic together. And that's why we don't recommend using your fingers. Stress marks are very hard to get rid of and require a lot of post-processing and treatment. It's almost kind of like streaming and video content creation, actually. The better the equipment you start off with, I guess, the less post-processing you'll need to do. I don't know. I don't know if this actually holds true. I'm a resident scuff streamer after all. Oops. So now you can see the pieces come out. But if you also look closely, you can see that there's extra bits and bobbles sticking out of it. Now what you can do is you can just cut it off with your side cutter, like I'm about to do. Or you can sand it down. Now obviously when you're cutting with a side cutter, you want to be very careful not to actually cut the piece. And because these are inner frames, it's not required to do a lot of heavy sanding. But still, you kind of just want to take at it with a file. Just gently go over it, just to smooth it out. And get rid of the excess nub, we call it. The nub from the runner. And I'll show you in a bit actually why undergating is a very good engineering advancement that Bandai has made on their plastic model kits. And obviously when you sand it down, you want to be very careful so that you don't take off more than you want, because once you take it off, you can't put it back on. Just gently take at it with the file. You might be wondering how long I've been doing this for. Well, I've always done plastic model kits. I really liked them as a kid growing up. But once I kind of got around high school, I stopped until I went back a couple years back. Once I finished school, I was watching some YouTube videos and I was looking at how people did their touch-ups on their pieces. And I was really very inspired to go back and get building again. But this time, trying to make it actually look decent. Because before, what I would do is I would just use my fingers and take the pieces out and then file it with a nail clipper, cut it with a nail clipper, and so you'd have a lot of these nubs sticking out and the pieces weren't fitting nicely, things weren't flush, it wasn't clean, and it really looked cheap. So what I wanted to do was try to build with all the right tools. You know, try to make it as good looking as possible. And even if I didn't use a good side cutter at first, I used one of these thick side cutters, these hardware store ones. Afterwards, I found that just with a little bit of sanding, some panel lining, and using side cutters instead of your fingers or nails, the result is so much better. So much better. And that's really what I like. That's what made me, come back to model kit building, specifically Gunpla. I do have a bunch of frame arm grills as well, which is Kotobukiya model kits, but those ones are a little bit different. My plans for those will be a little bit different. Now, so once you've filed it down a bit, you can just use your fingernails to just scratch off the plastic dust. In the Gunpla communities, we call this residue from the parts plastic crack, because it's a fine powder of plastic. Okay, so here they want it facing down, and then you put it in this way. do believe. Yep. Okay. This is piece 1. And then here we need B11. So B11. Oh, and this is the Ahab reactor on the Barbados kit. Now hopefully I'll be able to show you guys the panel lining. This one has quite a bit of panel lining opportunity. So I've cut the part out. It's supposed to be a perfect circle, but you can see these bits jutting out. I'm going to trim that down. And when you're trimming, you can go flat like this, but then you risk cutting the part. Or what I like to do is just go across the top. And because it's rounded, I always leave a little bit for me to file off. I don't cut flat or straight into it. I always leave a bit to sand off because then I can fine tune it. Just going to use a flat file here. So I guess afterwards I started building, I started with high grades, of course, to get ease back into the whole building thing. But afterwards, you know, I got some master grade kits, the 1/100 ones, and I also got real grade, because real grade was starting to be on the up and up at the time. Now real grades, for those of you who don't know, are Bandai's 1/144th scale models, but with the amount of complexity and detail as a master grade. So it's just a master grade that's been shrunken down. Now obviously that means it's good. There are good pros and cons, right? Now with the earlier real grades, their inner frame technology was not that sophisticated and it's very experimental. And so you would have real grade syndrome, which is after a while, the inner frame of the kit was unable to support the weight of all the armor on top of it. And so over time, what you would get is the arms and the legs start to sag a little bit because they're unable to support the weight, which makes posing your model kit for photos or just for display very, very difficult. With the newer kits, though, engineering was definitely a lot better. And as a result, kits became a lot more stable, and Bandai started moving away from softer plastics. So, I don't know if you can see this, but there. No? Huh? Huh? But if you can see, here, let me see if I can bring this into focus. There's a lot of grooves in this piece. That can be used as a, that you can fill in so that it pops out a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a panel liner, and in this case, because it's a darker shade plastic, we're going to use black panel liner. We're just going to run it along the edge of the grooves. These are port type markers, which means the paint inside of it is very thin, very watered down, so you just need to dab it into the little grooves and let the paint do the work. And you want to get all of the little details. All the little details. Whoops, I forgot. So one more thing that you would probably need is a Q-tip or some way to remove the paint or the excess panel liner off of your model kit. Now uh, I don't have a Q-tip on me, so I'm just going to step away to get one after this. But in the meantime, I can leave this piece here to let the panel liner run its course, and we can clean it up after. Okay, so I'm just going to step away for 1 second as I get a Q-tip. Alright, I am back. I've got me a handful of Q-tips. So, to clean off the excess, what you want to do is you just want to take some of this marker, panel remover, and basically it's rubbing alcohol. But you can just dip some onto your Q-tip. Okay. And then you just run it alongst the edges of your piece. Just lightly, so that you're not getting into the groove, but you're wiping the surface of the part. You can see the panel liner is coming off. Just want to go across the top brightly. And even if it smudges a little bit, right? The good thing about it is like you can use it as a way of kind of weathering, making your piece look not as plasticky. Give it some of that nice finish. There's also top coat for it, but we'll save that for the end. You want a top coat after you're done building the piece, the part, or the kit. Okay, so that's one ring done, and now we put it together. So, instruction manuals say this should be facing down with a little notch facing upwards. Okay, that's fine. This should be facing upwards. Okay, and it should go diagonally into this notch here. I wonder if it goes from, does it go from the outside? It looks like it. Or is there something else I need to add? Okay, no, this is correct. Oh, this needs to be facing down. And this is going to be diagonally. Hmm. Diagonally. So this is diagonal. Okay. Oh, there. Oh, there it is. Okay, and it's in. So in, and then turn. In. In we go. And then turn it so it's standing straight. Like this. Okay. Okay. So next, we have to do the D1, which is this metal silver piece. These are going to be kind of like pistons for the kit. D1, we want B1, A1, 10. Okay, let's cut out A1, 10. Oh, this looks like it's going to be a lot of panel lining. Okay. A110. So once again, we're trimming. Oops. Okay. File the edges. Just clean that up. Okay. And this last edge where I cut it out. Okay. Now we're ready to rock. And so, once again with the panel liner, I mean, we don't really have to. We can wait until afterwards, actually. We'll do that. We'll wait until later and see what pieces actually are visible afterwards. So this is the A10 piece, and this was a piece from the previous half. So we'll need the D1 and B10. B10. Okay, so here, B10, this ring right here. Oh, this is for the Ahab reactor. Okay. So, in Iron-Blooded Orphans, the Gundams, or generally in Gundam series, they usually have some sort of a backstory for the Gundam kits. For Iron-Blooded Orphans, it's that Gundam kits have Ahab reactors, which I believe are like nuclear powered or something, which makes them extremely. Oh no! So Ahab reactors are actually put in on kits that have on a Gundam that have a special interface where the pilot can be plugged in directly into the Gundam, which allows for more precise operation of the Gundam kit compared to normal mobile suits. So mobile suits are basically all moving robots, basically mobile suits, as the name implies. It's anything. A Zaku is a mobile suit, for example. The one-eyed guys, they're a mobile suit, but they're not a Gundam. Gundams are usually the so all Gundams are mobile suits, but not all mobile suits are Gundam. Is the best way I can put it. And the Gundams are usually have some sort of special characteristic that sets them apart from a normal mobile suit, which is usually in the form of better performance or like stronger weapons. For example, in Gundam Seed, the mobile suits had or Gundams had a special coating, phase shift or something that reflected that were could not be penetrated by bullets or something like that. It was like a super armor, made it stronger. But the problem with Gundams was that it was developed by the Earth faction in Seed, and the people on Earth didn't have uh, the faster reflexes or what have you that the people from the moon or Mars or whichever space colony did. Basically, the guys from the space colony are always more like enhanced humans, more physically endowed, and compared to their Earth counterparts. That's a little bit of Gundam lore for you. You usually end up with something along the lines of a space versus Earth. Now, on the topic of iron-blooded orphans, it's actually reverse. The guys who came from Mars, which are the iron-blooded orphans, actually lived a less fortunate life than the people on Earth, and kind of only lived to benefit the people on Earth. And so they're trying to gain their independence, and it's a fight for ultimately for independence of Mars. Now in IBO, the Gundam suits were actually long lost. They're technically outdated compared to they're considered like ancient technology compared to the mobile suits of that era. And basically, they were used to fight giant AI robots that got out of control. And so you had a bunch of these Gundam frames that were piloted by people who were plugged directly into the suit. So basically, it's like you connect your spinal column to the mobile suit and pilot it that way. Ooh, yeah, I don't really like how this metal piece kind of peels off if you cut it poorly. That's why I never really liked metal. These platinum coating, hopefully you don't notice it as much. Ugh. Yeah, it's okay, it's a ball joint, so it's fine. It's a ball joint. Okay. There. And then we plug this in. Uh-oh. Just get that in there real quick. And then we'll close it tight. Okay, it's kind of loose. You see this? It's kind of loose, but should be okay, I think. Oops. Okay, and then A15. A15. Oh, I almost made a mistake. It's A115. I'm griefing. Okay, this one looks like I'll need to panel line before I put it on. You see this small piece here? This one's A115. Parts can get very small in when it comes around to Gunpla. Now imagine if this was 1/44 scale, it'd be even smaller. This is why it's I strongly advise against building with small children or animals around, because they might run off with the plastic residue, and it's never a good thing. Okay, these ones are a little bit harder to file, but you just gotta go low and slow, kind of like smoking some Texas barbecue. Okay. Okay, just sand that off. I'm sorry if that scared any of you, but just trying to get the dust off of my kit. Okay. Now to panel line this, I'm going to use this alligator clip, and then just run. You can just dab it in there. Alright, and so here's the piece, and then just let it air out a little bit, just so that what needs to stick sticks. And then once again, we'll take to it with a Q-tip. Now, Q-tip already absorbed some of the panel line remover, so you can just go over it lightly after some of the panel liners removers evaporated, and it just leaves helps you out a little bit, because if you just do it raw with the panel liner, it usually takes off more than you would like. It's still very wet. Same idea with dry brushing, actually. Okay, so now this goes in with the thick side facing out. Whoa. It's kind of... back here. Interesting. Let's see. Oh, okay. supposed to face outside, and it goes up and in. Wait, something's not right. This is outside. Okay, that's what it is. Uh-oh. Oh, I see an imperfection. Okay, I think I see how this part's supposed to come together. It's facing down. Oh, the other side, right? There we go. There we go. Okay. That's done and taken care of. Now for the next side. So these are called AHAB reactors, these engine things. And look at that, they spin. That's some nifty engineering. For the second part, so this time we're using A120. A120. Okay. We'll just pull that out. And then trim it. Okay. Scratch that off. This can be cleaned up a little bit better. I think I'm just going to grab some 1000 and take it out with the 1000 grit. A118. this bit here. Okay. So this part sticks out again, like this. And then we go in, like that. Yep. B11. Oh, this time is up. Was it supposed to be up before as well? It is. Oh, thanks. Goodness. Okay, so it is supposed to be facing upwards. So let's grab the A111. I need the B11 first. I mean, I don't need it, but so we have two B runners. So here's the other one. B11. This is the one I pen aligned, right? So obviously when you do on one side, you do on the other. You know, the whole symmetry shtick. Okay. Okay, just sand that off lightly. It's already been cut off very flush. You're just moving away some of the minute stress marks. All part of the cleanup. So what I'm using right now, this is a nub remover. It's basically a piece of plastic shaped like an X-Acto knife, except it's not sharp, and its purpose is to remove the sand filings from when you sand a part. You'll find that as you sand it, a very unpleasant residue builds up that gets in the way of your actual painting or overall design of the kit. And what this nub mark remover does is it goes through and it shaves off the dust that builds up in the cracks. Okay, now for the other side. And then we panel line yet again. You know, if you get these on your hand, it's fine, honestly. Sometimes when I'm feeling too lazy and I don't want to use a Q-tip, I'll just use my fingers and rub off the panel liner. It's whatever. That's how I see it, at least. I mean, obviously there are people that are disagreeing, but it's not a big point of contention. It's honestly pretty whatever. Okay, let that air out for a bit. Then start going over. Just clean it up. Clean up the extra. Might need a little bit more remover, so we'll go ahead and add some. Just dab a little onto your Q-tip. Very clean. Okay, let's go for this. All right, and then we put this together. Again, this one goes facing down, diagonally this way. Let's just go and clean up this bit back here. There we go. And then turn it. Voila. Ici. Okay. Next up is the ring, the little donut ring. Let's go ahead and cut that out. Three areas of contest. Now we start sanding. Okay. So the next bit is over here. And then go across this way. So the way I like to sand is I like to switch from different sides of my sanding direction. Like if I'm going towards one direction, then you want to turn the piece over and go for the other way. It's a similar idea to sharpening knives. Once you file a lot on one side, you'll find that a lot of residue and buildup is on the other. So you want to kind of sand the other direction just to balance it out and get that very clean, smooth finish. Well, I guess no matter how you spin it, especially for these kind of pieces, you're always going to end up with some note that it's been sanded. Because you're taking off the shiny layer that coats each piece. This facing forward, reactor itself facing up. Okay, and then A11, and then the D1. A111, okay. And then that little ball joint thing, the piston. Okay. Now I get the metal out. I'll try this one. I'll just cut it flush. One cut. And then the ball joint up top. Okay. Does look a little bit better. I mean, since we're not seeing these, it doesn't really matter. The parts that are being shaved off are not parts that are visible. So ultimately, that's fine. Did I sand this part yet? I don't think so. Let's just sand this real quick. Okay. That's sanded. That's sanded. Just a little bit more. Metal piece in. Oops. Oh. And just like that, we dropped a piece. Which happens. It's a relatively common occurrence. So this is going to face up and towards the open mouth. This goes on top. And then also we need the piston thing. Okay. Pinch tight, tight, tight. Okay. And then the last piece, the A116, was that little pipe thing up here. And then also we are going to panel line it first. And there we go. So, piece, cut it out. And then we file it. Okay. Oh, this piece is a little bit annoying to sand if I'm being brutally honest. It's kind of got a very ugly finish to it. Guess I'll have to just go over it with the sandpaper. And then just rub it down. This edge over here. Let me see if it's noticeable, the panel lining. A little bit, but not very. Would it be better if I maybe just painted over it though? What if I use gold and something and paint it over it? We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay. Whoops. Okay, so yeah, it's not very noticeable actually. I just need to go over it with maybe some paint. Okay. There it is. The two starts to a wonderful... Oh, do these go together? Should I put them together yet? No, okay. So these do look like they go together, but I'm not going to put them together yet. And I think this is going to be a good place to stop for now. And we'll continue the next time I resume building this kit. Alright. Peace. Alright, and so that's kind of the process and the start to building a Gunpla kit. And no matter kind of where you're at, I think this is a hobby that anyone can start and anyone can enjoy, really. There's no really like barriers to enter into this kind of hobby. I guess just, you know, interest, but there's a lot of different kits out there for different folks. If you like girl kits, there's girl kits. If you like other kinds of mecha, I'm sure Bandai, Kotobuki are the main ones that have a lot of different variety of kits for you to pick from. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the Scuffed Handcam stream. And thank you for coming, and I'll see you in the next one.